Hey guys, it's Dan here from Your Guitar Academy, and I hope you're doing really well. And I'm super excited for you because if you're looking at this video, this is you at the absolute beginning, the start of your guitar journey. We've got an amazing course called the 30-Day Beginner Challenge, and that's what I'm gonna want you to do after this video. But of course, you've just picked up a guitar, right? This is the first time you've ever picked it up, and I just wanna show you a few really basic things to set you up so that you're ready to learn properly. Now, you might have picked up or found yourself with an acoustic guitar, okay? So this is what a very cool acoustic guitar looks like. This is a blue lava. So the way you basically know if you've got an acoustic guitar is that it's kind of hollow, essentially. It's got a hole here or here, somewhere where the sound comes out of. And if you hit it, the sound's just gonna come out like that, all right? So this is an acoustic guitar, and if you are picking up an acoustic guitar for the very first time, before you get to our 30-Day Beginner Challenge, all you need to know how to do is tune this thing. You can get apps with digital tuners, you can get clip-on tuners that go on the headstock of the guitar. If it's really fancy like this one, it's actually inbuilt to the guitar. You can get pedals that have it. No matter what one you get, they all fundamentally work the same way. 99% of the guitars you pick up will want to tune to standard tuning, which is essentially E, A, D, G, B, E. The way I remember it, the way I teach all my students is elephants and donkeys grow big ears. So try and remember that, and now we'll look at actually how you then tune it with that in mind. So we're gonna start with the low E string, give it a good pluck. And as you can see, you just gotta get familiar with this kind of interface. You know, all the tuners fundamentally do the same thing. They'll show the note that you're trying to play in the middle, and it will show you whether you're flat, i.e. too low, or high, i.e. too sharp, okay? So let's just do this. So I've got it too low here, so I'm gonna go to the tuning peg, and I'm going to twist it until it goes higher, okay? It might be left, it might be right. You'll have to see depending on your guitar. We'll give it a twist, and you're looking for that kind of look. So we're in the green. It's never gonna be absolutely perfect, as it comes out with perfect on the screen, but it will kind of go in and out, you know, depending on the string. So from there, we're gonna do the next one. A string, so this one's too low, so I'm going to twist it until it goes higher. In the middle, green is good enough for me. Then the D string, so that one's actually too sharp, so I'm going to come lower with that one. There we go. Now the G string, so the next one down. Elephants and donkeys grow, so we're going to go higher. Give it a good twist. There we go. Back down. It's a bit fiddly, guys. And there we go, perfect. Then the B, back down. And as you do this more, you will get used to this. Now, with the guitar tuned up, you're essentially ready to go. The only other thing you might want to consider is grabbing some picks. You can get a tin of picks like this. I'd highly recommend just getting a nice range because you're gonna want to try loads out. We'll go through that properly in the course. So with that said and done, if you've got an acoustic sitting in your lap, you're ready to go. So click on the card on the screen and you can go through and start the first day of our beginner challenge. Now, if you're not sitting there with an acoustic guitar, you're probably sitting there with an electric guitar, something like this. And I'm gonna be going through just a few things. It's a little bit more complicated than acoustic, okay? In that it does a few more things. We need to plug it into an amp to make a proper sound out of it, but it does tune exactly the same way. So all the tuning stuff we've been over already, that is exactly the same. So before we do anything else, just pause the video, get it in tune with your tuner, and then what we're gonna do is we're gonna first of all plug this into the amp and try and get a sound out of it. All right, so I have my guitar strapped onto me, which is a very worthy purchase. You know, 10 quid for a guitar strap, very worth happening. Very good for the posture. Even if I'm sitting down, I like to have the strap on, very much so. I've got my cable, which I'm plugged into the guitar, and then over here into the input of the amp, okay? So when you get amps like this is the Boss Katana, and it's a really good beginner's amp. In fact, it's a really good any amp. It might not be as fully fledged as this, but I'm just gonna show you through this one because we've got this hanging around. So with this particular amp, you've got all these amp types, okay? And this is the kind of thing you can have a lot of fun with, just, you know, switching between clean, crunch, lead, brown. But for now, you know, this is fun, but we're gonna stick with a clean sound, okay? And this is one of the big questions that arises all the time when you're trying to work through an amp. What is the difference between volume and gain, okay? Now, you will hear gain is essentially driving the wannabe, the digital tubes, if you like. So what that means is essentially it's going to sound a bit more gritty, a bit more distorted, overdriven is probably the best word for it. So what you want to think with this is, do I want a really spangling clean, or do I want something with a little bit more like bluesiness to it, right? So I'm going to go somewhere in the middle. So if I did just turn the gain all the way down and turn the volume all the way up, it's going to be really clean. Super clean. Nothing else behind that. However, if I turn the volume down and the gain up a little bit to match, you can hear you just get a little bit more warmth, a little bit more overdrive with that. So for me, when I first set up an amp, if it has these two options, I want the volume and the gain roughly in the same position so that I get a clean sound, but something that if I hit it a bit harder, I get a bit more from it. So that's how I set that up, but you can fiddle around with that. When you come to the EQ, the equalizer, really just set them all to 12 o'clock for now and then just play around with it from that. Some people might like their sound a little bit more bass heavy. Others want it a bit more trebly, so a bit more high end. And the middle is exactly what it says. It covers the middle frequency. So this I would just simply set to 12 o'clock for now, and that's something you can play around with later down the line. Then we move to effects. So this is where you get a load of fun stuff. So here you got mods, which might be choruses or, flanges or whatever that might be. You got delay, more effects, and reverb. Now, for the moment, all I want you to worry about here, because this will be so different with different amps, is just turn everything off, and I would have a little bit of reverb. So reverb just gives that kind of room sound. So here it is completely dry, like this. Okay. Then if I turn that right the way to the top, can you hear that? You get that kind of almost like a delay, but it's just a lot of space suddenly around the sound. So what I tend to do is just put the reverb about there, just enough so that we've got the sound, but not over the top. Just kind of eases the sound a little bit. So if you do have an option to put reverb on, chuck a bit on there. The rest, don't worry about for now. So don't worry about any of this stuff. All we need to think about is the master volume here, okay? And that is whatever sound you've already established for the rest of the amp, you're just going to be turning it up or down, okay? So this is perfect when you're just playing at home and you don't want to annoy your wife or your family or neighbors. You can turn the master volume down, but you get the same sound. Equally, you can turn it right up when you're performance level. All right, so the last thing before you head off and start your amazing guitar journey, starting with our 30-day beginner challenge, of course, is just to talk a little bit about what the actual buttons and knobs on the guitars do. So we've got two different typical types of guitar setups here. We've got one with a 5-way selector over here and single coil pickups, and we've got one with a 3-way selector over here and humbucker pickups. So we'll start with the Fret King with the kind of single coil setup here with 5 selectors. So here's our pickup selector, and if it's on this end, so furthest towards the neck, we're going to be using this particular pickup. And then quite simply, as you move it through, you kind of go through the pickups. But then you're thinking, well, how come there's 5 selectors and 3 different pickups? Well, that's simple. We actually work with 2 at a time in the middle position. So that is just simply the bridge pickup, we're going to call it. Then in the middle here, we're actually working both of these pickups at the same time. Then when we come in to the next position, we're on the middle. Then the next position, we're between the middle and the bridge pickup. This is called a bridge, so this is the bridge pickup. We're between those two, and then finally we're on the bridge pickup. Each of which is going to give you a different sound quality, and it's the kind of thing where you're going to be experimenting with that yourself. The only other thing here is, of course, we've got the different controls here, the different knobs. We've got volume, which is just the volume of all the pickups. And then we've got the different tone. This will be different for different guitars, but on this guitar, we've got tone for this side, and then we've got tone for this side. And finally, guys, this is the other guitar you will likely come across. Maybe you're sitting there with something like this. Don't worry about the look of it. It's more the setup of the pickups and the volume knobs and everything else. So we've got 2 humbuckers here, which basically means it's higher output, it's louder. And we've got 3-way selector here, which you're gonna find up here. And this gives you a really nice little kind of almost like old school diagram here. You've got rhythm, which essentially means that you're using the neck pickup, so the pickup closest to the neck. You've got treble, which is all the way the other way, which is using the pickup closest to the bridge, which again is more trebly. And then you've got in between, which is using both, which is a little bit of rhythm, a little bit of treble. It's just a nice in-between sound. And then the setup almost all the time with your volume knobs and everything else here is that these front two are volume, okay? So whether you're looking for the volume of the rhythm is here, the volume of the treble is here, and if you're in between, it's gonna be using both, okay? And then, again, we've got tone. So again, that EQ concept. So if it's on 10, it's trebly. If it's on 0, it's bassy. And again, these match up to the pickups. So the lower one here is for the rhythm pickup. The higher one here is for the treble pickup. And again, if I'm in between, then it's gonna be using both of these to get the sound. All right, so it's all about playing around with this stuff. It's having a bit of fun with it, slowly getting to know your guitar, but fundamentally you're set up and you're ready to start our 30-day beginner challenge. So get your guitar on, head on over to the video now, which you can find right here, and I'll see you there to start the challenge.